Local news on the air, online, on demand at WCLUradio.com.
Well, good morning. Tuesday, September 20th, 72 degrees now at WCLU. Great to have you with us today. And if you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube Live, you've noticed that we are now live again, if you happen to log off of our page just a moment ago, because we have a special interview this morning, and we want to welcome on the air with us today. It's Mr. Steve Jones, an Advocate Development Specialist with CASA here in CASA of South Central Kentucky. Good morning, Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning. And, we have lots of things to talk about today. You've been here several times to talk about CASA, and such an important institution, program that folks can get involved with. But really, I want you to explain for us, just in case someone is listening and has never heard of CASA. Tell me, what is CASA?
Well, CASA is an acronym. It stands for Court-Appointed Special Advocates. And what we do is we recruit and train community volunteers to work with abused and neglected children who've been removed from their home through no fault of their own. We are an extra set of eyes and ears on a court case. A judge asks us to put a volunteer on a court case, and our volunteers meet with the children, they meet with the foster parents, they meet with the social worker, the attorneys, their teachers, anyone they think they need to meet with to talk to make recommendations to the family court judge on what needs to happen next in the progression of moving that child through the system.
Sure. I know this is a really some folks think this is complicated. Some folks think that this is an interesting thing. Now, I know, of course, the whole institution of the state foster care system and things, folks have mixed feelings about that. But the one common thing we can all agree on is that we need more people to be there for these children. And that's pretty much what you're here today to talk about, is the Fall New Advocate Training, which is going to be coming up in the month of October. In fact, it'll be happening each Thursday in the month of October. And you all are seeking volunteers that want to get involved with CASA. So let's talk about these training sessions, and then we'll address perhaps maybe some things that maybe some misconceptions people have, but you'd like to clarify those.
Sure. Well, as you said, our training is coming up in October. It's October 6th, 13th, 20th, and 27th. It's from 8:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. That's a total of 30 hours, and I know that sounds like a big chunk of time, and it is, but that's the single largest time commitment anyone will ever make to CASA. After that, and you have a case and a child on your case, you average anywhere from 6 to 8 hours a month is what you'll spend on your case. Mm-hmm. But the training is in Bowling Green, and we do provide lunch, and it's a very informal training, very informative, and in some ways kind of fun.
Very good. Thursday, October 6th, that'll be the first session, and like you said, 8:30 to 4, so a full day there. And each of those days, you all go through a couple of chapters, if you will, about pretty much readying somebody to become this court-appointed special advocate. Now, before we get into what you dive into in those sessions, let's talk about some of the misconceptions that maybe you hear from folks. Maybe they're hesitant about getting involved because of this or that. What are some of those things?
Well, we have what I call the three myths of becoming a CASA volunteer. The number one is the time commitment, and I've already kind of talked about that. It's the training that really takes the big chunk of time. 55% of our current volunteers have full-time careers outside of being a volunteer, and families and a life outside of that as well. The second big myth is that you need a background in law or social services, and you don't. That's what the training's about. We teach you about the family court system. We teach you how to interact with the cabinet and social workers. And the third myth, which is pretty common, is people are afraid they're going to have to go into what I call scary places and meet with scary people. You see on the news, you hear here on the radio about how a house was raided and there were small children and there was a drug den and all this kind of horrible stuff going on. By the time one of our volunteers gets a case, that child's already been removed from that situation and placed into a foster home or with a relative, so they're no longer in that kind of dangerous situation, and you never have to deal with any of that. That's a whole separate criminal action that will be going on that we're not party of. We're only part of the case involving the child's placement and care.
Right, so you're not asking people to essentially volunteer themselves to be put into danger or anything like that. You're simply asking folks to be there for children. And that's much needed. So here in Barron County, we were just discussing off the air how you have a great need for volunteers from Barron County, those who live here or work here or those who are here a lot who can help serve the children in Barron County. Let's talk about just how big is your need for Barron County and specifically?
Well, Barron County is our second largest county we serve. We serve Barron, Warren, Hart, and Metcalfe. And I'd say 95% of our volunteers at every training are in Warren County. And just like it would be hard for somebody in Barron County to take a case in Warren County and have to drive there to attend a hearing and drive there to meet the children, it's hard for people in Warren County to do that for Barron County. So we're seeing a need in Barron County for more local residents here to be able to step up to the plate and help the kids in our community. Certainly, you can serve any in the 4 counties, but it just makes sense that if you live in Barron County, a Barron County case is an easier one for you to take.
I know just discussing with local attorneys or those who are involved in the court system, particularly working with children, of course, it's something that's generally confidential. You know, we can't discuss it a lot of the time, but one thing that I think we can say just on the record is that there is a great need, and there are children in our community that sometimes you wouldn't even think are suffering through things or that need that person there that could serve them like CASA does, and that need is great. So let's talk about just occasionally, some of these chapters that you all go through at each of these training sessions. I'll read a few of those. Maybe you can describe what the idea is behind these. But for instance, during the first session, you'll be going over the well-being of the child and resilience. During that second session on October 13th, poverty and cultural competence. The Thursday, October 20th date, mental health and substance abuse and domestic violence. And then finally, to end the training sessions, putting it all together in educational advocacy, working with older and LGBTQ plus youth. So you have a number of things that you'll be going over with potential volunteers. Talk about what's the idea behind these training sessions.
Well, each one focuses on a different topic. For example, poverty and cultural competence. We cover how to look at yourself in terms of understanding different cultures, because in the 4 counties we serve, there's a wide variety of cultures, especially in Warren County. Warren County is a big county for having refugees taken in from all over the world, and we deal with a lot of folks involved with that. We also talk about poverty. A lot of people don't realize that poverty is not a reason to have a child removed from a home. Just because someone's poor or living below the national standard of poverty, that doesn't make them bad parents.
Sure.
So we talk about how to deal with poverty. We serve as a resource for these folks to try to help them to find places and things to do. It's not that we go out and find them jobs, but we point them to the resources to help them. Mental health and substance abuse, we cover that because 95 to 98% of every single case we have involves substance abuse. That's the #1 thing that drives these children from being removed from their home. Either the parents are using drugs or they're selling drugs. It's somehow drug related.
Sure. And if someone wants to get involved, suppose they're listening now to this interview and they've been waiting this whole time, how do I get in contact with someone at CASA and sign up for these volunteer training sessions?
The easiest way is just to give me a call at 270-782-5353, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. But you can also check out our website, which has a lot of information on it as well, which is www.casaofsck.org.
All right, and CASA, C-A-S-A, folks, again, that stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate. So again, Steve, we appreciate you going over all of this, and again, thank you for your diligence in this. You are very diligent about coming in to do interviews, not only with us, but I know other places as well, to really try to get the word out. If you're listening this morning and you are looking for a way to get involved, a way to make a difference in a child's life, then CASA would likely be something you need to get involved with. This is something that will give you a good ability to really empathize with children if you need, or if you feel like you can do that and you're good at that. Again, these training sessions, they'll be held at Crossland Community Church in Bowling Green, and you can apply online to get involved with this. Steve, have we covered everything today?
That sounds great. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Again, this is Steve Jones, the Advocate Development Specialist with CASA.